Have you ever felt like there are different versions of you wanting completely opposite things? Like one part wants to move forward, and the other is slamming the brakes? Like your own thoughts are silent rivals fighting for space? What if I told you that's not weakness or confusion, but a reflection of your true nature? This video isn't going to give you any ready-made formulas. It's going to show you something you've probably never heard this clearly. You're not just one person, and that changes everything. Who inside of you is really in control? Maybe it's time to find out, and maybe you'll realize you've never truly been in charge. Man is a battlefield where multiple versions of himself fight for control. He's not a single, cohesive entity. He's a mosaic of wills, a stage where different versions of himself compete for the spotlight. With every decision, every dilemma, inner voices overlap, contradict, and cancel each other out. Nietzsche understood this clearly when he wrote, "I am many, there are multitudes within me." The mistake most people make is believing in the illusion of a fixed self, as if identity were a solid, unchanging block. But who we are today isn't who we were yesterday, and it won't be who we are tomorrow. Heraclitus once said, "No man ever steps in the same river twice, for it is not the same river and not the same man." The self reshapes itself every instant, flowing like existence itself. Carl Jung explored this through the concept of the persona and the shadow. The persona is the social mask we wear to fit into the world, while the shadow is everything we reject and hide. But ignoring the shadow doesn't make it disappear. On the contrary, it grows in the dark and controls us without us even realizing. The one who believes they are only what they show to the world lives on the surface of themselves, blind to the underground forces shaping their choices. The wise don't try to erase their contradictions, they seek to understand them. They know there's a sage and a fool within, an old man and a child, a creator and a destroyer. The fool who denies their own complexity becomes a prisoner of their own illusions. The strong one is the one who sits at the table with themselves and accepts every single fragment, because only those who know their own inner crowd can ever hope to lead it. The real question isn't how many you are, it's who, inside of you, is in control. Most people think self-sabotage is a moral flaw, a lack of discipline, or just a character defect. But that's way too simplistic for something so deeply rooted in the structure of the human mind. What we call self-sabotage is often just one part of you trying to protect you from something it sees as dangerous, even if that danger is actually growth, change, or being seen. The conflict isn't between right and wrong. It's between different versions of you, each with its own fears and priorities. In psychology, this shows up in what's called the Internal Family Systems Model, or IFS, developed by Richard Schwartz. It says your mind works like a system of sub-personalities. One part might want to move forward, take risks, and put yourself out there. But another part, shaped by old traumas or past rejection, just wants to keep you safe, no matter what. It pulls the brakes, even if it means ruining a real opportunity. These parts aren't enemies. They're survival strategies stuck in time. Neuroscience backs this up too. The human brain works like a hierarchy, where the prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for logic, conscious decisions, and long-term planning, often clashes with the limbic system, which is driven by emotion, impulse, and old emotional memories. When you say, "I want to change," that's your cortex talking. But when you freeze, hesitate, or sabotage, it's your limbic system taking over. Your rational mind wants growth. Your emotional mind wants safety. And that's how the perfect inner war begins. From a very young age, we're taught that certain parts of ourselves need to be hidden. Don't cry in public. Don't show anger. Don't be too weird. So we start shaping a version of ourselves that feels acceptable to our parents, our friends, the job market, and now even to social media algorithms. That shaped version is what Carl Jung called the persona. And the more applause it gets from the outside world, the further we drift from who we really are on the inside. Jung described the persona as the mask we wear to interact with the world. But the danger of the persona isn't in wearing it. It's in forgetting that it's just a mask. The moment we start believing we are what we show, we lose touch with our real emotions, our true desires, and our most honest vulnerabilities. That's when the existential emptiness kicks in. The feeling of living a life that looks right on the outside, but feels completely disconnected on the inside. The persona pleases the world, but cages the soul. We live in a society that rewards performance and punishes authenticity. But living a life that isn't truly yours just to avoid rejection is a subtle form of self-abandonment. You end up spending your life maintaining an image while your inner truth slowly decays in silence. Real freedom begins the moment you recognize that the persona has its place, but it's never the whole story. It's a bridge, not a destination. Only when you stop identifying with the mask can you finally start having a real conversation with the person behind it. The most dangerous part of you isn't the one the world rejects. It's the one you hide from yourself. That part has a name: the shadow. Jung defined it as everything you deny, ignore, or repress within yourself. The anger you never admit you feel, the desire you label as wrong, the selfishness, envy, neediness, shame. All of it gets shoved into the basement of your mind in an effort to appear balanced, acceptable, in control. But what's repressed doesn't disappear, it leaks out. The shadow shows up in subtle but destructive ways. You project onto it everything you don't want to face in yourself, judging others for the same things you secretly carry. You sabotage relationships without knowing why. You overreact to situations that don't really justify the intensity. The shadow is the hidden director of your emotional theater. It shapes your impulses, your fixations, your quiet decisions. And the more you deny it, the more power it holds over you. Integrating the shadow doesn't mean becoming dark or negative. On the contrary, it means accepting that you're human, with both light and darkness, and that those parts need to talk to each other. Anger, for example, can be fuel for righteous action. Envy might reveal dreams you've ignored. Neediness can show you where you still haven't given yourself the love you need. The shadow isn't your enemy, it's an inverted compass. What you avoid the most often holds the greatest lessons. To ignore your shadow is to live incomplete. To face it is to take your power back. If there are multiple yous inside you, then who's supposed to lead them? That's the question that separates the unconscious from the conscious, the impulsive from the mature, the reactive from the creator. Leading your inner crowd doesn't mean silencing the voices. It means learning to hear them clearly and choosing which one should take the lead in that moment. There's a part of you driven by fear, another chasing approval, another stuck in past pain. But there's also a part that watches it all in silence. That's your center. That's the you that should be steering the ship. In modern psychology, that center is called the self, or the observing self. It's the mental state where you notice your thoughts, emotions, and impulses without being ruled by them. It's when you feel anger without becoming it. When you acknowledge your neediness without letting it drive your choices. When you see your anxiety without being paralyzed by it. Real power comes from realizing you are none of these parts on their own. You're the one who can bring them into harmony. And that's the beginning of inner sovereignty. Leading your inner crowd takes practice, awareness, and courage. It means being committed to the truth, even when it stings. It means listening to the parts you fear the most, even when they challenge you. It's like being a wise leader. You don't silence the voices on your counsel. You listen, then decide with clarity and long-term vision. When you build this kind of internal counsel, you stop acting out of impulse, trauma, or conditioning, and start making choices from a place of real presence. That's when your life starts aligning with who you truly are, not with what the world told you to be. You don't have to fix everything right now. In fact, you shouldn't. The first step to mastering your mind isn't trying to change it. It's accepting what it is: complex, contradictory, imperfect. That urge to fix yourself, as if there's some ideal version of you just waiting to be unlocked, is exactly what keeps you disconnected from your essence. The real beginning isn't some external transformation. It's a quiet, powerful act. Stop hating yourself for being many things at once. Embracing your complexity means realizing that every part of you has a reason to exist, even the ones you label as negative. Fear protects. Anger sets boundaries. Doubt invites reflection. When you stop fighting yourself, you begin to notice patterns, understand your cycles, and slowly start making more conscious choices. This doesn't mean giving up. It means growing up. Acceptance isn't the end of your evolution. It's the soil where real change starts to take root. And yes, there will be days when you feel like a mess. Days when the shadow gets louder. Days when the mask feels safer than the truth. That doesn't make you a failure. It makes you human. And the more you recognize that with honesty, the stronger you become at holding your integrity, even when things fall apart. The first step is simple, but not easy. Stop lying to yourself. And when you do, you're no longer a hostage to your inner crowd. You're finally able to sit at the table with them and start a real conversation. You've just spent the last few minutes looking inward, and maybe now you're feeling something that's hard to name, a kind of inner silence mixed with restlessness. That's a sign something's been stirred. Because once you realize you're not just one person, but a crowd in motion, you start seeing your life through a different lens. The choices you made, the mistakes, the masks you wore, the feelings you buried, it all starts to make sense within this new map of the mind. Maybe now you see that much of your pain came from trying to be just one thing, consistent, stable, perfect. But consistency without awareness is a prison. What you truly want isn't to be predictable, it's to be real. Owning your complexity takes a special kind of courage, the courage to not fit into a pre-approved version of yourself, the courage to be contradictory and still stand in integrity, the courage to walk forward with all your inner pieces and still feel whole. That's not weakness, that's maturity. So now I invite you to a simple but powerful act. Share what you're feeling. Drop a comment below. What part of you has been the loudest lately? Is it anger, doubt, fear, or maybe the urge to break free and start over? Your voice might be exactly what someone else out there needs to hear. And if this video hit something deep in you, hit the like button. It helps this message reach more people who are also trying to figure out who's really in control inside them. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications, because this journey is just getting started. And no one should have to walk this path of self-awareness alone.